Welcome to the Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Josh Kimmel, Dave Campbell, and Justin Bowerly.
Podcast. I'm your host, Josh, and we have a special show for you tonight. I know we say that every week, but every week is special. Don't laugh, Justin. Everyone hears you in the background. But we are going to be talking Scott Fishbowl, who we drafted, who we didn't drafted, biggest surprises out of our live drafts. We have a live draft Houston recap. We have a live draft Orlando, and of course, I believe it was Cincinnati up there with Justin Bowerly. Before I bring in him here, I just want to break down the show. We are going to be talking redraft strategies, who we're targeting in the first round, what's the best spot to draft at, a whole other bunch of things. We have a Hall of Famer on the show too. Like, it's huge. If you're watching on YouTube right now and you want to see a Hall of Famer, legit Hall of Famer on the show, share this with your friends right now. Let them know it's going to be a banger of a show. So let's get it started right here. Justin Bowerly, how is it going, my dude?
Not a lot, man. Got back from Cincinnati. Yep, that's where I was. We got to see the same person back-to-back days. He was at both drafts. He was running both drafts. Zach, our guest from last week. So that was pretty cool. Got to see a lot of cool people this weekend. I went to Chicago last year, hence the shirt. It was cool. Went to Cincinnati this year with producer Jacob, and I will tell you, it was a lot cooler. I'm not gonna even lie. It was so cool. Won some cool stuff. Got to sign an autographed AJ Green jersey, which was pretty sick. And a lot of other smaller things. So it was a fun draft. How was yours?
I won nothing, but I won the draft. I believe. I think I crushed the draft, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Don't make fun of my draft just yet. But yeah, it was a blast, man. I saw Zach the day after you. I couldn't believe it. I was like, Zach, when did you fly in? He's like, early. I drove right here. I'm like, dude, you got to be tired. I was asking if he needed water once in a while. He was running around, but we all had a blast. Zach put on a banger of a banger of a event. And Scott Fish, yeah, could be. And Scott Fish, of course, all credit goes to him and those guys who put that together. It's a lot of work to see it grow from the first live draft in Orlando, which I can only speak from my experience, to what it's become now. It's just unbelievable. And the people, the community, the people I remember, it's like I said this last week. It's like seeing an old friend once a year, but you don't miss a step. You catch up and you're just back there. And it happens with the group in the Orlando group, of course. But without further ado, let's get our guest in here. Hall of Famer, like I said, Mr. Greg Kellogg. How are we doing tonight, sir?
Oh, it's great. I love talking football. I love making friends. Justin, I've met in the X, the Twitter. I'm old, so I still say Twitter.
We all say Twitter.
Yeah. And Josh, it's really great to meet you too, buddy.
Thank you. If I was still on X or Twitter, I'd be in that group as well. Isn't George Reed in that group? Who started that group?
George Reed is in a group with me, but I'm not sure if it's that one.
George Reed.
This one is created by Jeff from Going for Two.
I believe they were both. They were both at the Orlando draft. That's why. And George actually came up to me when I drafted Jonathan Brooks and had to personally come up to me and said, "Good pick. You sniped me on that one," because he drafted right next to me, and that's the only time I sniped him. So I felt pretty good about that one because he's pretty good. But yes, Greg, before we get into the show, where can we find you? What are you known for? Tell the people.
Well, I don't write anymore. I do a podcast on Thursday nights with the folks at the TSA, the sports affiliation. JC and Iggy and Evan put that together. And other than that, you can find me at Gregory L. Kellogg, Kello, double good Kellogg's, best to you. Grew up in Michigan, so every Kellogg joke you have, I've heard. I got two brothers, Crackle and Pop. I'm Snap. So, yes, I've heard them all growing up. I've heard them all. So, you can find me Thursday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's the best place to find it's on Twitter, but it's also on YouTube as well.
Yes. Before we get into the main content tonight, I do want to plug the show and where you can find us. Make sure you go to our website, ousffpod.com. Thank you to every single person who signed up for Super League. We are full. We are overwhelmed. We are
I can't fill
grateful.
another league. Like it's
Honestly, the word gratitude, I don't know if that's the right word, but honestly, like, wow, we didn't expect to fill 3 leagues, and we filled how many, Justin?
7.
7 leagues.
7. Sent
Unbelievable.
out invites this morning.
Thank you to everyone who
So, it's
joined,
pretty
signed
awesome.
up. Next year will be bigger and better. We did tease a live draft in Tampa and Indianapolis. That didn't happen this time around, but if we get the interest like we did this year, that will definitely happen. So thank you to everyone else. Follow us on YouTube, OUSFF Pod. If you're watching on Fins Talk Sports Network, thank you as well. Go ahead and drop a like, hit that sub button. Please, we're at like 92 subs. Let's hit 100 before August. Tonight. That works too, before tonight. So let's get into the show. First off, Greg, you are a Hall of Famer. You're one of the GOATs. How long have you been playing fantasy football?
Longer than you've been alive, probably. 1986 was my first year playing. I played straight through and started writing in the 90s. And Bob Harris and I did the first podcast. Bob copied a whole bunch of interviews that were done online. He cut the responses, and he would send me a note that says, ask this question. And I would record me asking the question, send it back. He'd splice it. That was our podcast back then. We didn't have StreamYard. Hell, we didn't even have the internet, barely. I mean, when I first started, there was 3 ways to score: extra point, field goal, touchdown. Yeah, maybe you could get a safety, but they were rare. There were no yardage bonuses. I mean, in 86, it was straight. I don't know if you guys know Joe Bryant, but you probably have heard of Football Guys.
Mm-hmm.
Football Guys didn't exist when I met Joe. He and I were on Usenet. So I've been doing a takeoff 2016 through 2021. I took those years off, those 5 years off, because I was getting ready for real retirement. And we went to Thailand for a year after I retired. So, yeah, 38 years total, 33 years playing.
Joe Bryant's a friend of the show now. He now follows OUS. He follows me. I don't know if he
Joe
follows
Bryant's
the
a
rest of the
good
guys.
man.
But yeah, he's an awesome guy.
Wow.
He and I built FanX together, the Fantasy Experts League. And if you ever get a chance, there's a book by Larry Schechter called The History of Fantasy Sports. Turn to page 270, baby. They talk about FanX, Joe and I.
Wow. It's pretty impressive. That's pretty cool. But I was born in 85. So close. Justin, I think, 87?
Yeah. Pretty close also. Yeah.
How old are you, Justin?
The year before John was a twinkle in his daddy's eye.
I mean, yeah, my mom graduated in 86 from high school. No, I actually had this conversation at work today because I forgot how old I was. We were talking about how old the youngest people in the office were. And I was like, yeah, I'm 30. And somebody was like, I'm 31. I was like, wait, you're not older than me. And then I was like, oh, I'm 32. I forgot 2 years of my life. So that was great.
Hey, you know what's funny about that? I'm 38 now. Honestly, age 33 to like 35, 36-ish, it was the same way. I forgot how old I was, but now I'm counting down to 40, and I cannot wait to finally play that video clip of I'm a man, I'm 4. I cannot wait to play that because I watched that when I was a child, and I've been waiting for so long to play that clip from that Oklahoma State coach. Forgot his name. Sorry.
And
Josh, I married my high school sweetheart, and she's 28 again.
She's 28 again.
Oh,
Did you really marry your high school? Did you really?
She was a freshman when I was a senior.
Oh, cool.
I married her 3 years after I graduated from high school, and we've been married going on 48 years now. We've been together 50 years.
That's awesome.
So,
congratulations. I also married not my high school sweetheart, but we went to high school together and we dated. But we reconnected afterwards. That's what Facebook and social media is for now, guys. Because you meet them afterwards, and then it's awesome. It's been fun times. But let's get into some fantasy football. We just had Scott Fishbowl live drafts. Like I said, we had the Houston. That's where Greg was. I was in Orlando. Justin was in Cincinnati. I'm sure we had all awesome times. I'm sure we had tons of stories, met tons of new people, met tons of new friends or old friends. But let's talk about the draft in general. First off, where did everyone pick? I know I picked 10th. Justin, I forgot where you picked. Greg, you know what, Justin? Let's go to Greg. Greg, where did you pick?
6.
6.
Right
And did you select 6 or did you get stuck with 6?
I don't get stuck. It didn't. If they assign me a spot, 1, 12, wouldn't matter. You can win and lose from any spot in the draft. I chose 6, but with the third round reversal, I like the middle rounds.
That's understandable. I picked 10th this year because I've always picked like either 1, 3, 4, but this year I wanted a late pick. I'm pretty happy with it. Justin, where were you at again?
I picked from 11, so I got that third round reversal bonus there, which was nice.
Oh, nice. So let's break down our top 3 picks and strategies. If you had strategies, we talked about it last show with Zach, where I didn't have a strategy going in. I'm just there to have fun because it's a giant league. It's a giant tournament, and it's for fun and for charity and for I believe to network and create new relationships. That's what I go for. So I had no strat going in. Greg, did you have a strat? Have you had a strat before?
Yeah. Well, last year I took Kelsey with the 5th overall pick, and he had his worst year in a decade, but still,
Still finished.
I made the playoffs. I made the playoffs, and I was quarterback weak in that draft. So, my strategy going in, what I loved about what Scott did was he equalized the scoring, and he set it up so you could construct your roster however you wanted. Equal scoring between quarterback, running back, and wide receiver, basically. And you have one starter at each position, then you have nothing but flexes. So I loved that setup. And so I went in expecting to get one of the 4 required positions, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, in the first 4 rounds. I screwed it up. I got quarterback, tight end, and 2 running backs before I went wide receiver. I also was looking for some stacks, because stacks can pay off double. And I went with the super stack, which I'll explain later.
Oh, is it similar to my super duper stack that I created 2 years ago? We'll talk about that then.
Okay.
I'll just go ahead and break it down. So 2 years ago, my first ever live draft, I decided I was going to do a super duper stack. I wanted Dak, CD, Zeke, and the tight end at the time, I believe it was still Schultz, but I could be wrong, and Pollard. I wanted all of them. I ended up missing out on Pollard, but I got everyone else. And then
so you got a 4-person stack.
And then after that, I went Zach Wilson, and Michael Carter, and I went the Jets super duper stack. So I had the Jets, and I had the Cowboys. I had their entire offense. And let me tell you, I think I won like 4 games that entire season. So it didn't work out well.
Well, Zach Wilson didn't help you at all.
No, he didn't. But I was the talk of the draft. People kept on coming over to my board, our board, and they're like, "Oh boy, that team's in trouble." And I'm like, "Yep, sure am."
A lot of people are doing the CD stack this year. A lot of them. I went with I wanted to get. I got Mahomes at 6, which when I did the mocks, I figured I'd either get Mahomes or Bijan. That was who was falling to 6. I got Mahomes. I came 1 pick away from getting Kelsey. Guy in front of me sniped me with the 6th pick in the second round. I had the 7th. He actually has sniped me 3 times in that draft. We still got 2 picks left, I think, in our draft. But I got Pacheco, Hollywood, and Xavier Worthy. And the only reason I took Worthy is because I don't think he's going to do a lot on offense, but I think he may return kicks. And with the scoring system this year, I think kick returners are going to be huge.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, you got a huge stack right there in the first 9 rounds. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about my draft real quick, Justin. I want to talk about your strat. Yeah, of course.
I will. So Josh went running back first and then a ton of wide receivers.
Oh, you're going to don't. I thought you were talking about yours. Don't be breaking down mine. I'm gonna rationalize my strategy myself.
My strategy was pretty simple. It was take the best quarterback available at 11, or go for a high volume running back. And I'm not talking about somebody that's obviously sharing the workload. Like I thought Saquon Barkley might be good, but then I was like, he's actually sharing the workload with Jalen Hurts. So I actually went Jonathan Taylor, where there is no clear wide running back 2 or 3 this year, with Zach Moss being gone. A little bit of a homer pick. I also picked Jonathan Taylor 2nd round last year, or 3rd round. So this will be 2 years in a row. Around the turn, got Amon-Ra St. Brown. I actually took him before Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Nuka, and AJ Brown, which is interesting. I was hoping, because everybody's going quarterback, I could have like stacked him with Goff later. Somebody sniped me on Goff, so that was fun. And then I ended up with Garrett Wilson because, well, Josh said Garrett Wilson's going to finish wide receiver 1 this year. So I was like, you know what? I'll follow the lead here. I'll take Garrett Wilson.
Sorry.
And then Ingram with the 4th round pick. Everybody knows I love Ingram. I was really hurting for quarterback, and I was wondering when I was going to get him. Took him 5th round, Justin Herbert, because it was literally the last quarterback until
I
Kirk
like
Cousins
Justin.
in the 8th round. Oh, I do too. Like, I think
like
he'll be fine. It's just there's definitely in Scott Fishbowl, I think there's in our draft there were 2 levels. Either you got one of the top guys or you waited long. And most people had two quarterbacks before I even took my first one. So
Well, I think Josh. I got Chase as my number 1 wide receiver this year. I don't rank players, but I feel like he's got the best opportunity to be number 1. And you're going to love this. I think Justin Taylor's the number 2 running back, barring injury to CMC. If CMC goes down, I think Taylor could be the number 1 running back in the league.
You're talking.
He was
my
2
language.
years ago. He was 2
Yo.
years ago.
Greg,
Mhm.
are you trying to? You are getting to my heart right now. We did our rankings earlier yesterday, or late last night, yesterday, early this morning, and I only did top 15 of each one, and I have Jonathan Taylor the highest. I have him 3rd right now. Spoiler
You
alert,
do, which is
I do, and
interesting.
but I have CMC too. Yeah, I
No?
got my number 1 pick in Scott Fishbowl, number 1. I got Brees Hall going number
Oh,
1.
really? You took Hall over Bijan?
I took Hall at 10. Bijan went right after me. Yes.
Yeah.
I do believe the volume's going to be there. We were talking about Justin just said it. Who's going to be the most volume heavy back? I believe Brees. I don't think he's going to share that with anybody. I believe I still believe Tyler Algier is a solid running back, but he's not going to be on the level as Bijan. Understandable, but he's still going to get us 8 carries a game, which is taken away from Bijan.
I got to tell you, Braylon Allen is going to get work.
Oh, he is?
He is not going to sit. They didn't draft him where they drafted him to sit him. So he's going to get work. Also, I think you got to remember, Brees Hall had a massive knee injury a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And he is a great running back. And I think that a lot of teams are going to committees to protect the running backs.
Yeah. It's a smart thing to do, though, Greg. Like, why wouldn't you protect your assets?
Well, I agree. I don't disagree with that. But that's why I say I think I would go. Now, we know that Algiers took a lot of carries from Bijan last year. I don't think he gets the work he got last year this year. And I also think Bijan's going to be used in the passing game this year down there with the new offensive coordinator and a much better quarterback. So I just think that Atlanta offense is going to hum.
No arguments with you there. No arguments. I don't know why. I'm a Dolphins fan, Greg, and I have Garrett Wilson as like going to be the number 1 receiver. I have Bijan. They can't score 50 points a game, Justin. Am I just becoming a Jets fan? Like before your eyes?
Yeah.
Because I'm in love with every player. Aaron Rodgers, I'm in love with.
Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson.
Well, what happens to that whole offense if Rodgers doesn't come back or gets hurt early? He's a 40-year-old. He's a 40-year-old quarterback coming off a torn ACL, right?
You can say the same thing about Kirk Cousins, though, but they have Michael Penix, so at least they have
like
that.
Penix. I like Penix.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Michael
They don't
Penix
have
Tyrod Taylor, basically the same player, right?
Tyrod's not terrible. He's better than Zach Wilson.
He's got that veteran leadership. That'll be the nice part for Tyrod. Yeah. So.
Yes. What's going on, Bridge the Gap in the chat? What's going off this night? Guys, if you're watching right now on YouTube, tell your friends, come on over. Appreciate it.
Both of them were guests. Bridge the Gap is Dustin Ludke.
Oh, hey, Dustin.
It's Cody. We've talked to both of these guys on this show.
Of course we have.
Yeah.
But anyway, so back to my draft, my wonderful, spectacular draft. So I looked at the rosters and I'm like, okay, now there's a bunch of flexes. Because when I went into the draft, I told you I had no strat. But I'm thinking, wait a minute, I do want the stack. And at 10, I couldn't get one of those rushing upside quarterbacks. So I looked at ADP. I'm like, wait, Kyler's falling to the second round or late first. So in my mind, I'm grabbing Kyler, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab Marvin Harrison. And then on that third round reversal, I'm getting Trey McBride. That was my strategy going into it, like 10 minutes into it. And then what happened was Kyler Murray decided to get picked at 8. And then I watched
7
the
in
other.
ours.
Okay, well, 7 in yours. But then I look at the other drafts, the 3 other ones. He went in the second. He went in the second. He went in the second.
He
And
went 201 in ours.
He went in the second round in every draft, but mine.
Yours. Yeah.
So my strategy just went right out the window. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to have fun. So I went Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Mike Evans, T. Higgins, Keenan Allen, and my last pick, which would be my super flex if it was filling out the roster, is Xavier Worthy. Just exactly what you said, Greg, for the upside of the punt return, the kick returning. That's exactly why I grabbed him. I wanted to fill out every single flex spot I possibly could. And since the quarterbacks were already taken and I still don't have a tight end, and I'm in round 16. So, so I decided, you know what? I'm just going to go wide receiver heavy, get every single stud I could possibly get. Who's going to be the number? I think I have not every number one, but because Waddle and Higgins are number 2, and I believe Allen's number 1 in Chicago. So I think I have every number 1 receiver on those teams, except for, of course, Waddle and Higgins. So I'm pretty happy with my team. Daniel Jones is my number 1 quarterback, but I'm okay with it. He's a cheap rushing upside quarterback. How say you, Greg? You like Daniel Jones this year?
Daniel Jones is fine. He's not going to break any records or anything. I went with Mahomes, who I think is the number 1 quarterback this year. And then I backed him up with the kid in Cleveland, Deshaun Watson, because he has done it. He's done the rushing. He's done the passing. But I got to say, I'm not as big a fan of Marvin Harrison Jr. as you guys are. I think Michael Wilson could lead that team in receiving. I realize right now he's the wide receiver 3, but he's a big guy. And if you look at his finish last year, he did really well.
Not wrong at all, actually. But gosh, the potential of Harrison, the thing with Harrison, which I've been telling people nonstop, is we've had this streak of receivers as rookies or young players just blow up. Think about Justin Jefferson, think about Jamar Chase, think about Odell Beckham, going back to Odell Beckham. So I think the FOMO is real of you don't want to miss out on the next big thing. And Marvin Harrison could be the next big thing.
Malik Neighbors.
I was just about to say, what if it's Neighbors?
Yeah, I like it with your Daniel Jones. I would have gotten that hookup if I were you.
I tried to get. I was actually our table. One of the guys was in my draft, and me and him were like kind of button heads. I'm like, I'm gonna get Daniel Jones. No, I'm gonna get Daniel Jones. So he grabbed Neighbors like too early to I guess make me not want to get Daniel Jones because I couldn't complete the stack. I'm like, bro, I'm still getting Daniel Jones. I left the live draft with no quarterback. I was fine with it. I was the only team in my division to not draft a quarterback live. But there was 4 of us going into the 10th round without a quarterback.
Did you guys stop at the 10th round?
We did.
We went 13 and a half. And we're still drafting because Barrel has really slowed our slow portion of the draft down.
Oh, that makes sense. We're in the 16th round right now. We're in the 16th round right now.
Oh, we're in the 20th.
I do know that
21-12 in ours.
I believe in the Twitter Twitter chat for the Orlando draft, Scott was pretty upset about the Cincinnati drafting a lot. Was he
actually upset about it?
I don't know because I didn't read the group chat. I don't really log on to Twitter anymore. But I was told by Zach and a couple other guys, like, "Hey, we got to stop at 10 because Scott wasn't happy." I'm like, "What happened?" So they told me, and Scott he said he wasn't. He said exactly what I wasn't pissed. Isn't the word? I'm just annoyed that people went beyond 10, which we were supposed
to stop at 10. But really, when you think about the 3 drafts in Houston, we knew Barrel was coming. So it was wise that we went a little bit beyond because, you guys are finishing up now and we'll finish up about the same time because we got an extra 3.5 rounds in. And I got to tell you, Scott has never been pissed at anything. That's the easiest going guy I've ever met in my life. He is a sweetheart of a man.
I can second that. I don't know him, but from you and everyone else telling me, yeah, I don't think I think he just wanted to let everyone know because we were drafting the next day after Cincinnati. Like, hey guys, don't go over 10. So,
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah,
because he wants us to chill and have a good time and talk instead of just like rush. We got to
Right.
pick.
I think
Yeah,
the
so it makes
biggest
sense.
part about that draft and they were like off in the corner and all of them wanted to keep going. Jacob can probably speak to that a little bit more, but because he was a little bit closer to them. But the sense was that they wanted to be that draft that like set the ADP this year, and they were the first ones to make the late round picks, and um, everybody seemed cool with it. Everybody seemed I don't know if I just broke up there. I saw myself flinch or glitch out there, but yeah, it seemed like everybody was cool with it. Everybody wanted to keep going, and nobody was like, "Oh, we have to stay." Like, so I think it matters if they
We
are.
did 13 and a half, and we were out by 3:30. And we had the room till 5. So
Wow, you guys were quick. I know that Stacy's group over there in Orlando, which you mentioned her, I think pre-show, they went the full time past 5 just to finish the 10 because everyone was having a good time. Like everyone was having a great time. So that's the blast. We're gonna move on from our drafts. If you drafted Scott Fishbowl this weekend, or you're still drafting currently on the slow draft, who did you draft? What was your strategy? Throw it in the chat. I'm interested to see everyone. My favorite thing, besides the live draft, is going to that. Now it's on my fantasy life. That little tool where you can look at your team or look at everyone else's team. Who has the roster build of this, and this? I always love seeing that. Who's the last team that drafted quarterback? Things of that nature. Greg, I don't know if you ever check in those things or even entertain those.
I have not, but Matt Berry does a great job, and Fantasy Life is Matt's baby. So yeah, I'm sure it's very fun. I've seen some screen captures of where they basically predict what round a player will go in, how many teams have this type of build and things like that. And that looks pretty cool, to be honest. So
Yeah. Doing
and
great things
there's a
over there.
tool that tells you what percentage chance you have of a player making it back to you. So that tool would be very helpful when you're trying, like, for example, I was down, I wanted 2 running backs later in the draft. I wanted Najee and I wanted Zamir White. And I took Najee, and the guy that sniped Kelsey from me took Zamir White 1 pick before I could take him. And he told me if I'd have gone Zamir White first, he had no interest in Najee. Now, somebody else might have swiped him, but I might have gotten both of them.
Gosh, there's so many things I want to ask you about this draft because of the rules. Because you only need to start running back. Did that change your strategy at all? Like
it did. I had best player available, and I typically am old school stud running back where I'll go 3 running backs in the first 4 rounds because I think that's it's scarcity. That's the important thing. How scarce is a position? Every team has 3 or 4 wide receivers that get major opportunities. It may not be 100 targets, but they're getting 80 targets or more. So you got 3 guys on every team. That's 96 players there. How many running backs are going to get you 18 carries a game? Maybe 15, 20 out of the entire league. So yeah, I go running backs heavy, and I didn't take a running back till the 3rd round, so I took another one in the 4th round. I got ETN and Pacheco, and I'm happy with that.
Yep, that's exactly the strategy I had. Get Breeze early, then fill out your roster and grab that other running back later. All right, guys, we're gonna move on to the redraft season. I know the drafts are starting. We're gonna have a fun draft coming up. Between us 3, we're gonna be talking about the funnest ways to actually get your draft order going on. Because I know Justin needs a draft order. He needs something, so help us out in the chat. Whatever you guys do to set up your league draft, your home league, throw it in the chat. We're going to give ours out a little bit later. But first, redraft strategies. You've been playing for a long time, like you said, 86, Greg. You've done a lot of drafts. I can only imagine. What's your favorite position to draft from normally, and what are you targeting this season?
I don't have a favorite position. I told you, I don't believe that you can win your draft in the first 2 rounds, maybe not even the first 3 rounds. You can lose it there, but you cannot win your league in an early round. The league winners are the people you get in the mid to late rounds. The Puka Nakuas, the Kyron Williams that come out of nowhere and are top 12 guys. Those are the guys that win your leagues. So for me, if I'm drafting in a redraft league, if there's no third round reversal like Scott does, then I kind of like the 9, 10, 11, 12 position because I think the upside of that second round pick is really great. Plus, you can kind of start runs from that when you have the back to back. You can do that with the 1, 2, 3 slots too, but there's such a long wait between first and second that I prefer that. Now, if you got a third round reversal, 6 and 7. I do not want to be on the ends because it's such a long wait between. And if you're in a large league, 18 teams or more, 16 teams or more, I'd rather kind of be in the middle so there's not such a huge wait between picks.
No, totally understandable. Justin, I'd like to get your opinion on this because I feel like you're a top dog kind of guy. You want to be in the top 3 every single year, which is totally understandable. Where do you like to draft from?
I prefer late round always. Well, in snake drafts, I prefer late round. Mostly because, yeah, like Greg said, you can start that run. You can you're still gonna finish with the top 12 player theoretically with even if you have the 12th pick. But that the upside to getting that second pick is bigger than getting a top 24 player. If you can get a 13 to 15 player over the 24th best player, I'd prefer that. Because I think that break is right around 17, 18 when you start looking at the best players in the league. So I prefer late round always. I hate going first. I hate going second unless it's, like I used to like that. I don't like that anymore. It's just I'm never going to have Christian McCaffrey on my redraft league. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to have Tyreek Hill or CeeDee Lamb or Amon-Ra St. Brown because I don't like the first couple picks.
I see Greg wanted to chime in there. Did you have a rebuttal?
Well, it depends on your league rules and stuff. You can get Amon-Ra in the second round.
Yeah.
It depends on your scoring rules and your roster construction rules. I think people overlook the roster construction and the positional scarcity. For me, you got 5 or 6 tight ends that are relatively assured of scoring well. And after that, it's a crapshoot. For years, it was Travis Kelce and nobody else. Mark Edwards beat him 1 year. But other than that, he was the number one tight end for 6 out of 7 years, 7 out of 8, something like that. And last year was a bad year for him. He still was the third best tight end in the league. So to me, I think positional scarcity and point differential are two things that you have to decide when you're choosing a player. And I think Justin nailed it with the fact that you get a much better player at the top of the second round than the bottom.
Yep. And on top of all that, I'll just put out there, I like picking one. We always do this thing. One of my leagues where we have a competition or something to choose draft order, but that's not the draft order. That's the order you can pick. And people like to get cute. Oh, I'll pick 9. Like the first person, like, oh, I want 9 or I want 10. Then I want 3 or I want 4. And I'm like, I'll take 1 because you know what? I'll get the player I want no matter what. I
had the perfect draft strategy for Scott Fish, and Scott wouldn't let me do it.
What's that?
I said, give me the first 22 picks and let everybody else afterwards.
Exactly. I like that.
But he wouldn't let me do it. I don't understand.
It's so weird.
But my point is, what I was going to get to is, if you know me and you watch a show or you've seen the show before, you just know me personally. Auctions king, snake draft.
I agree.
Yeah, snake drafts are in the dust. We left those old Macintoshes, those Nintendos, all those are in the dust, right? We evolve as humans, as a society, as people. We grow. Come on, people, let's get some auctions going on. Greg, I'm glad you're on board.
Do you intentionally bid up players that you don't want? And if you do, which I do, when do you back out?
It's all about knowing your league and your members, right? If you know someone is in on a player and you know you can get them, like we know this guy Adam. I'll just call him out. He's a big Buffalo Bills fan, and you know he wants Josh Allen. I will bid him up until I see. If it's a live draft or he's whatever, until I see him getting nervous. I'll keep on doing it.
Well, that's fine for Allen because if he drops him on you, you got a great quarterback.
But okay, for example,
what about Curtis Samuel? Would you bid him up for Curtis Samuel? And if so, when would you stop?
Not Curtis Samuel, because I think he's too much of a. I haven't looked at average budget.
I would,
but I would not. And here's why.
Okay.
You hit it on the nail of the head with the Josh Allen thing. If I win them, oh well. I'm only going to do it with players I'm okay with winning. If I win this,
bidding when there's only 2 or 3 people left bidding. As long as there's 5 or 6 people bidding, I'll bid up. But when there's 2 or 3 people bidding, then I stop.
Good example of how I got stuck this year in a draft with Justin. We did a startup dynasty, but it's only rookies building from the bottom. We have no veteran players. 2023 and beyond doesn't exist in our league. We only start with rookies, and we're going to build from that. I was bidding up neighbors, and we were going nuts for like ever. And it was like within 3 seconds. And we're like, bid. I'm okay with bidding him up. I wanted to win him, actually. Same thing I thought was Worthy was the next player. I didn't want Worthy. I had no interest in Worthy on my team. I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's do this again. I'm going to get Worthy up high, just as high as neighbors. Bid. Guess who I got? I got stuck with Worthy. But again, I'm okay with it because of his high draft capital and the team he's playing for. If it was somebody I didn't really want on my team, like a Brian Thomas or someone like that, I wouldn't have bid him up. But that's my answer to that. If I want the player and I'm okay with him landing on my team, that's fine. If it's a player I just totally dislike, for example, I'll give you a player right now, Kyron Williams. Do not want to touch that player. Do not want him on my roster. I will automatically hit pass automatically.
I like Kyron, but I'm a Michigan guy. And I'm here to tell you, if I draft Kyron, you can bet I'm taking Corum at least 2 rounds ahead of his ADP because I want Corum to make sure I have that running back position. Because the St. Louis running back position is a good position to have. But who's going to get the bulk of the carries? I think it'll be Corum, to be honest.
But that's baked into Kyron Williams' ADP too. You have to, in your mind, you just said it right there. If you draft Kyron, you already have to overpay on his backup Corum, which I'm not in the market for. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, but I'll do that because that is such a strong position to have.
No,
and I mean, is anybody crying about Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery? The committee is the future of this league. It really is.
1,000%. So let me ask you this on Justin. I'm not ignoring you. But we got a Hall of Famer. No, but as you played since from 1986 to now, this isn't even on the run sheet. How have you adjusted for, like, we talk about it all the time. It was touchdown only. Then we go to standard where we hit like 1 point per 10 yards. And then we do decimal points. Now we're in PPR. Then we go half PPR. Then we go super flex. Then we go tight end premium. Then we go points per carry. How have you adjusted throughout the years? Or have you? Or are you still stuck in I'm not saying you're stuck in your ways, but are you still like, no, I'm good with just standard guys?
Okay, so bottom line is everything changes every year. And people who lose consistently are the ones that depend too much on where players finished last year and they don't project where they're going to finish this year. So the bottom line for me is back in the day, Bob Harris said it best. Back in the day, we had to search for information. Now we have to filter it. So I know Mike Hall personally. I've met him in Vegas at some conventions. He's the guy that created My Fantasy League. My Fantasy League is the best, him and Kevin Austin. Kevin took it into a live feed type thing. Mike had created it as a desktop app. And the bottom line is that with My Fantasy League, you cannot come up with a more complex scoring system than you can on My Fantasy League. Even it would be hard pressed to do it without any system at all, where you're just making stuff up. Mike does so much with the data feeds that you can literally take any stat and use it to do it. So I like complex scoring systems. I like you not to know if you won until you see the final score. With some systems, you can just say, "Wow, he scored 3 touchdowns and ran for 100 yards. That's going to be X number of points." And there's no way anybody else can make that difference up. Well, with my fantasy league, you can definitely design scoring systems where you can. So you do adjust. But I think the biggest adjustment and the lack of adjustment is actually looking forward instead of looking back. Microanalytics is a huge thing right now. ADOT was not even a statistic when I started. Nobody even thought of average depth of target. What does it mean? I think too many people use microanalytics, to be honest. I go with my gut. I basically watch the game. I watch how it flows. I watch how the coaches adjust certain situations. And you can't quantify that. Either you know the game or you don't know the game. And I think that, I think microanalytics, I love watching podcasts where people discuss them, but I don't use them in my player analyzation, in my analyzing of players. I don't go that deep with it. I just want to have fun. And you turn it into a job if you get too deep. So, and people get so mad at slow drafts. Hey, they got an 8-hour clock. If they time out, let them auto pick. Who cares? It's, we're July, man. The season doesn't start till September. We got lots of time. Don't worry about that stuff. Have fun.
No offense to everyone in the chat that's been on the show before. Greg is my favorite best friend now. We are literally the same people. Like, I can't explain it. Like, I don't know how to say it as well. He does, but all your ADOTs and all that stuff, to me, one ear out the other. I just know
it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch the analysts with it. I just don't use it when I'm doing my own player prep. I just don't.
I agree.
Seth, if you're listening, we still love you, Seth. I promise we still Seth.
Oh yes, Seth. Yes, Seth. We love you. Honestly, like, I love everyone that's come on. I love everyone that's interacted with. But what I'm trying to say is that's the kind of fantasy me and Dirtbag Dave, who's on the show tonight. That's how we play the game. And it's like, I don't know how to say it. I think there's too much statistics going on, and we trick ourselves and we psych ourselves out on one player because of this stat or this number. But let's just think of the game, like Gabe Davis, for example. I'm not going to go through the stats and tell everyone, but we were all hyped about this. But no one realized all of his big plays came off of busted coverage. No one's looking at that stuff. You're like, oh, the ADOT, this and that. I'm like, guys, he's an average player at best, and you're drafting him in the 4th round. But that's where your statistics and your advanced.
He's also very inconsistent in his output. And Bob Lung, people know him for the Fantasy Football Expo. For years, he's produced a book called The Consistency Guide. And he looks at players, how consistent are they from week to week and season to season. That's a tremendous help. Now, I've never purchased it because I like to think that I'm smarter than everybody. I know I'm not, but I like to think that. So this year, I'm buying one of Bob's books at the expo because I want him to autograph it for me. But I'm telling you, if you're new to this and you want a tool that will help you tremendously, reach out to Bob Lung. You can buy his book on Amazon for about $25. It's worth it.
Noted. We'll put that, Justin, put that link in the chat, or not in the chat, in the description below, because I'm actually going to buy that because I'm interested in that. I love consistency ratings. I don't look at them enough. I just, like you, Greg, I'm smarter than everyone. I can see it with my eyes.
We're of a kind, baby. We got it down.
We're gelling, man. Justin, I'm sorry you're the odd man out tonight. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect to make a best friend tonight. I didn't expect that. So we are running a little bit long. That's okay. Thank you guys for still tuning in. We're going to get into our nonsense draft tonight. Our once upon a draft. We're still working on a name, although Jacob named that, producer Jacob.
It's the once upon a draft.
I guess that's what we're sticking with. Tonight we're doing ways to set up a draft order in your home league. Is that what we're doing, Justin?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. So there's many ways to do it. There's the 100-yard dash. There's a randomizer. There's a bunch of ways. Let's get creative tonight. We're going to go, of course, Greg first. Justin, I'll let you go second. I'll go last. And then we're just going to linear 3 rounds. So, Greg, kick it off at the top. What's the best way to set up a draft order?
Well, I'm going to go with the old standard since we're doing 3 rounds. I get to come up with 3 different ways. And I'm going to let you take the one we discussed earlier. Okay. But I want everybody to know I told him about it. Okay. So they don't get mad at you, because people will get mad about that one. I'm going to go with the straight random draft. So that's the number one because it's the most used.
Is it the number one? Do you like it random
For
right when you walk in?
For redraft, randomization is the number one way to do a snake draft.
Okay.
For dynasty leagues, it's reverse order of finish usually, but I think the number one, most leagues are redrafts, so I'm going to say randomize your draft order.
Randomize. All right. Justin.
Okay.
Give me something. Give me something.
So my 102 is going to be what is currently my 101 in how my home league is going to draft this year. Beer Olympics.
Oh, you got to
Combine.
explain.
So what we're doing is a Beer Olympics combine. So you have a couple of different, we're not drinking during the timing and the combine aspect of it, but you're playing flip cup. You have to do the beer pong, like you have to get a ping pong ball and
is it
cup.
one event or multiple events?
It's multiple. So you're going to start, you're going to do one thing, get it to flip, then you do another thing, and then you're going to do a cornhole throw, get bags onto the board. I think maybe we might start with like spinning around your head around on a bat like 10 times before you
So
go.
is it timed?
It's going to be timed. So the fastest time will get to pick their spot first, and then it'll just go down that order based off of your timing.
Okay.
Josh.
Okay, that's good, Justin.
So Josh, I have both of you. I have a couple spots in Indy at the end of August, Labor Day weekend. If you guys want to come up and draft,
I wish I could, man. I really wish I could.
I'm spending my money on Scott Fish and on the Expo. Sorry.
All right. So the number one way I've ever set up a fantasy football draft order, which I've done it twice to my home league. I'm not the commissioner, but I'm close with the commissioner. It's my brother. So we just watched the Royal Rumble in January. Big wrestling fans over here. And we just randomly pick a number. There's 30 men in the Royal Rumble. We all get together and watch the Rumble if we can get together. And that's our pick. We don't know who our person is. Greg, I don't know if you watch wrestling or ever watch professional wrestling or know what the Royal Rumble is. But if you pick number 2, that's the person, the wrestler that comes out number 2 in the Rumble is your guy. And the last person, so if your guy gets knocked out first, you're the 12th pick. If you last the longest, you're the first pick. It's always fun to get the guys together, watch
Do they ever, is it like a tournament where they can go out in the same round?
No. So what happens is there's 30 people in the Royal Rumble. They come out one at a time.
Oh, okay.
And you have to get thrown over the top to be eliminated. Now it's a work. It's professional wrestling. It's not real, but it's fun because you don't know who's going to win, and you don't know who you can be sitting there with number 27 in your paper and like the whole time, because one person comes out 90 seconds. The second person comes out 90 seconds. The third person comes out. So every 90 seconds, a new wrestler comes out. So you're waiting on who your wrestler is the entire time. And when it's someone terrible, you're like, oh, I lost. But if you get a John Cena, shout out John Cena, you follow me on Twitter. If it's a John Cena, you're like, oh yeah,
there's a cheat code for that, Josh.
What's the cheat code?
Become friends with the producers, slip them 100 and ask them who's going to win, because they know ahead of time.
Hey, Vince. Hey, Triple H, who's going to win the Rumble?
Yeah.
That's a good one. But that's my favorite. We've done it twice in our home league.
So you got to go again because it's a snake draft.
No, we're doing linear.
We're doing linear.
So it's back to you.
Oh, God. Okay. Well,
pick the one that you told us about.
I'm going to give you one more chance to use mine. If you don't, I'm using it in the third round. So I'm just telling you. All right. I said have fun with it. Okay. One way to have fun with it is take everybody out fishing and you measure the fish. Now, the problem with that is if 4 or 5 people don't catch any fish, then you got a real problem. You got to come up with an alternative method. But you just measure the fish. Number, weight, length, doesn't matter how you measure them, but there's that. And you can throw a twist in. You can say, okay, I'm donating. If you had the big catch, I'm donating to mine because it still leaves me at number 1 to this person.
Oh, I
And
like
you can really throw a wrench in it. But fishing has always been fun, so go fishing.
that's great. I feel like if you don't catch a fish, you're just kicked out of the league. You're just kicked out. Like, come on, man. Like, we're Bass Pro Shoppers over here. No, that's good. I was fishing a couple weeks ago. That's fun.
Is it a myth, or if you don't kiss your first fish, you're always gonna have bad luck?
I've never kissed a fish in my life. Are you kidding me?
Okay, because
And my
I was
daughter
told
and
that
my daughter and I went to Alaska a couple years ago before I retired, and we went halibut fishing, and we did halibut plus bass. And first fish on the line, there were 3 guys, all of us old, and my daughter. And so I said, Paula, it's yours. And the deckhand says, oh, wait, it might be snagged on the bottom. And so Paula says, Dad, you take it. So I took it. It was a 111-pound halibut. She caught the second biggest, 65 pounds, but I got the 111-pound halibut.
That's massive.
I was told if I didn't kiss my first fish at a very young age, I was going to be awful, and I have not been good at fishing ever. So
Did you kiss it?
no, I didn't. That's the
Well,
thing. So I always
well,
believed it.
Take a trip to Aransas Pass, Texas. It's near Corpus Christi. Go out to Port Aransas, go over to the North Jetty, guarantee you'll catch fish. There, I went over there. I lived there for 6 years, and I went fishing hundreds of times and never once got shut out. Not once. Just get some live shrimp because
Challenge accepted.
everything eats shrimp.
Yes.
So we're at what, 2:02 here. This is me on the clock. So I'm gonna go similar to Josh. I'm in Indianapolis. It's the racing capital of the world. Indy 500 is in May, so that wouldn't work. However, the Brickyard is usually in late July, early August. So I'm going to go similar to the Royal Rumble. Everybody pick a race car driver or get a race car driver randomized to you. And then whoever finishes in first or second or whatever.
And if my driver crashes, your driver too freaking bad.
Yep. And then, of course, whoever finishes first gets to pick their first pick.
Yeah. So we've done multiple. We've done Kentucky Derby. We've done PGA golf. We've done the NHL Stanley Cup final or playoff where we all pick a team. So I'm going to exclude every single watching event because we've done it all. UFC, our league have done it all. So I'm going to do something we haven't done, but I want to do and I want to implicate. So if you're watching, Davey, or Sam, or any of you commissioners in my home league, this is what I want to do. This might cause heart problems in the future, but I'm okay with it. I'm down. Pick any fast food joint you want. Pick any nugget you want. I want a nugget eating contest. It could be Chick-fil-A. It could be McDonald's. It could be Wendy's. I do not care. I once put down 65 in one sitting way back in high school. I'm pretty sure I can do more now. Let's go. I want a nugget eating contest. We all sit down and we all just go to town. That's what I want.
I like it, but you punked out, buddy. You punked out. So I'm taking the hardcore. Texas. We're in Texas. We're going to the range, and whoever gets closest to the bullseye gets the number 1 pick. We're going to do it right, and we're going to do it Texas style with guns.
Yeah, Wyatt Earp style, right? We're bringing hell with us. That's one of my favorite movies.
Josh, I think we're very similar on our thought process because I was going straight to food right after this for the third pick. This is a good way to not only pick your draft order, but to have food for your draft. Everybody orders a medium pizza from their favorite pizza joint, and whoever shows up first gets to pick first.
It's not bad. I think you brought that one up because, yeah, everyone gets food, and that's pretty smart.
Everybody spends like $10 to get a medium pizza. Like, you got to make it a medium because it's got to be standardized.
Where do you deliver pizza is $10 delivered.
It's called Little Caesars, buddy.
They don't deliver.
They don't deliver.
It's called
DoorDash. A delivery.
Little Caesars does deliver with DoorDash where I live.
I would not trust DoorDash to deliver my pizza.
They do.
Yeah, they deliver. You know what? You're right. Because when I get Hungry Howie's, it's down the road, and they don't have delivery, but DoorDash does deliver it. So Hungry Howie's. Good call, that one. Is it my turn?
It is. Last
round 3. Oh, round 3. Gosh. I didn't think about 3, Like I was actually going to use your scenario.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't
I
think you were
told you
gonna.
to use it
Didn't
before. I
use it.
did.
I didn't think you were gonna do it. So man, I can't really think of anything creative or fun because that's what I was gonna pick.
And you can't even go randomized because that
Can't
was
even
the
go
one I won.
randomized because Greg picked randomized already. So let's keep it simple. Let's keep it very, 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 very to the point. I'm doing this for the first time in my league. We're doing a poker tournament. We're gonna
Okay.
we're gonna shuffle up and deal, and then right after the poker tournament, we're gonna draft. It's gonna be an all day thing. It's gonna be awesome. A bunch of my friends, so I can't wait for that one.
You could have done age, reverse age.
Man, I don't want to show everyone. I'm the
Older
oldest.
first, younger last.
Yeah, age before beauty, guys.
That's
Don't
right.
forget. Don't forget.
Jacob's last.
But what
Jacob's
if you're older like me and much better looking than Justin?
You get two
Like
picks.
me.
You get double picks. I mean, I
get
don't
both
make the
their
rules.
picks. Oh, and Justin disappeared.
Justin's gone.
Oh,
Justin's gone.
I'm out of here.
But that was the Once Upon a Draft. What do you do? Because I need to know. Everyone watching, please let me know because we need more ideas. Obviously, our picks were all awesome. I think my favorite one was
in the comments. Tell us who your favorite draft pick was.
Yeah.
Of all time?
Well, no, like any of the listeners right now in the comments, whether they're on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, put in the comments whose pick you like the most. And we're gonna put this on Twitter also with a couple polls as well. So
Greg, that's a good point. I know Justin wants me to wrap it up. Trust me. I know you do. But I gotta ask Greg this. This is probably my only opportunity to ask, unless I log on to Twitter again. What is your favorite draft pick of all time? What's your favorite year of ever playing fantasy football? I have one.
My first year, 1986, I was stationed. I was in the Army. It was my last year in the Army, and some guy came up and said, and I was stationed at Fort Meade, Maryland. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard the term Puzzle Palace, but Fort Meade is where the National Security Agency is. Google Puzzle Palace, Google National Security Agency. That is the preeminent spy agency for the United States. I was a Russian linguist, so you can guess what we did. Somebody came up and said, let's do this new thing called fantasy football. And in 1986, guess who was in their prime of their career? Running back from Detroit. And I took him, but instinctively I knew that to have my best team, I had to take stars from all the teams. These other guys they were homers. They just they didn't have any idea what they were doing. None of us did. But I won that first league, and because of that, it's become a lifelong passion. And it wasn't because I was smarter than everybody. It's because I was lucky. I just figured out you needed players from all teams, not just from yours. And the rest is history. So my favorite pick of all time, and it may have been the only year I ever got him, was Barry Sanders.
Nice. What a classic pick. I wish I played fantasy long enough to know who, like, seriously, to draft Barry Sanders. That's cool. I can't wait to tell my kid. I drafted LaDainian Tomlinson, right?
That's a great pick, too.
Yeah. Justin, what about you? You got a favorite draft pick of all time? Well, you think I can tell you. Mine. Michael Thomas. I'm just going to tell you. Michael Thomas. Lamar Jackson. Mark Andrews. CMC. I went undefeated to Deshaun Watson. I went undefeated in 2 leagues that season when Michael Thomas set those records because I had all those guys stacked up. It was a tremendous year, the best year of my life. Greg, I haven't recovered since. I've been so bad at fantasy football since that year because I think I'm going to go undefeated every year, and I never do. But that was it.
And so when you get your first loss, you just cut all the stars you took because I'm not going undefeated. These guys are bums. Let's get rid of them.
Yeah, yeah.
That would explain why you're struggling.
You know, no, why I'm struggling. Why I'm struggling is because I'm married. I fell in love with Michael Thomas that year, and I haven't quit him yet. That's why I'm struggling because I still drafted players that helped me go undefeated that year, and I can't quit them, and I won't. They'll forever be in my hearts.
All right, Justin, we got to hear yours.
I am looking up one stat real quick. I am going as fast as I can, but I'm almost there. And if this website would load, my favorite draft pick actually just so happened to be a auto pick with the 101 because I was working and didn't know the draft was starting. But it was Le'Veon Bell in 2014. Yeah, 2014.
See, you didn't make that pick, so you don't get a claim.
I know, but this is the reason why I liked it. It was a keeper league that you could keep a player for literally as long as you wanted to and never had to give him up. So I had Le'Veon Bell for the next 3 years, including his suspension year. It actually might have been 2015 when I picked him first overall, and he was suspended for the first part of the season or whatever. Either way, he was picked, and then he was on my team forever until he fell off.
You hear
And
that, guys?
I had the number 1 running back forever.
My co-host is a fraud. He didn't even make his favorite pick.
If you want to go with the pick I made, it would be my first ever dynasty rookie draft pick, which was AJ Brown. I had 4 first-round picks, and I didn't realize that I had to cut players right after the draft. And not knowing any better, I chose to keep Hollywood Brown over AJ Brown and cut AJ Brown after the draft.
Your favorite pick is the guy you cut.
It is my greatest mistake.
You see what I'm working with
It is
here?
my first ever dynasty.
I do, Josh, I do. It's a challenge.
Somebody has to deal.
You know it.
But he breathed life back into your fantasy world.
He did.
And I see why. He's a challenge. He makes you work. And that's a good thing.
I'll tell you what.
Top like 3 every league. Man.
I hear, and this is not a joke, and this is not hyperbole, and this is real life. I hear from him sometimes first before I hear from my wife. Every day. He texts me at 7 a.m. Josh, get your picks in. Josh, get your rankings done. Blah, blah. So I appreciate you, Justin. I really do.
So with iPhone now, I can schedule text messages. So sometimes I will schedule messages for the chat to go out at a specific time because I know you won't read it until then. So
yeah,
awesome. I love technology. And if you love listening to the show or watching the show, let us know. Drop it down in the comments. Who was your favorite draft pick of all time? Who was your Scott Fishbowl team, of course? And what is your favorite way to pick an order? I hope you enjoyed your time, Greg. I really do.
I loved it. But also, if you're listening to this, get to the expo. You can meet guys that have been doing this for 30 years. And go, if you ever go to a live draft or an expo, a lot of people are afraid to go up to the guys like Bob Harris that they hear on Sirius XM. They're afraid to go up to Scott Engel. I'm telling you, anybody that's been in this hobby for 10 years is a good person. Every industry gets frauds and shysters, but in fantasy, within 3 years, they're gone because they develop a reputation and nobody will do anything with them. They've been in 10 years. They're a good person. Go talk to them because all you got to do is introduce yourself or find me and I'll introduce you to myself.
Yes, get to the expo. That's a goal of mine, Justin. Next year, OUS Expo. Because this year.
Wait, OUS Expo? Like we have
as in we're OUS
going
crashing
to
the expo.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Greg, are you gonna be there? Are you gonna be there next year as well?
We're not sure because I'm supposed to be going to the Philippines when this lease is up, which is March. And the original plan was to go for 6 months, but I told my wife I think we're only going to do 3 because I don't want to miss Scott Fishbowl next year, and I don't want to miss the expo. So I'm going to try to. If I'm in country, I am definitely going.
Perfect. That's some good advice. Don't miss the expo. I cannot wait to go for the first time, and trust me, I will try to go next year to meet you in person and hopefully meet everyone else. Justin, any last words before we get out of here? Or are you just gonna let someone
RB1?
I was gonna say, are you just gonna let someone else say it for you?
Jonathan Taylor, RB1.
I will do it. Make sure you like the show, subscribe, share it with all of your friends. Greg, again, where can we find you on socials?
At Gregory L. Kellogg, KELLO good. It's just like the cereal box. And I grew up in Michigan, so I've heard every joke. Don't think you can find one I haven't heard. But yeah, and basically Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, I'm on YouTube, Thursday Checkdown. And you can find me on the Sports Affiliation YouTube page.
Perfect. And you can find us, or more of us, at the Finstock Sports Network. Thank you so much, Bobby, for having us on your network. You can find us also on our own YouTube page, OUSFF Pod. We're strong at 91 subscribers. We're brand new, trying to get to 100. Help us out. I will love you forever. Just like me and Greg fell in love, I will fall in love with you guys as well. You can follow Justin at Justin Bowerly. You can follow me on Twitter when I make my return at Josh Kimmel OUS. Man, it's been a blast, Greg. Please come back. It's been so much fun. Until next week, guys, Later.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. Follow on X and Instagram at OUSFFPOD. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.